Nearly 90,000. That is the number of lives saved by lifeboats since the service was begun in 1824. All those lives and thousands of ships, large and small, saved or helped in all weathers, a record to be proud of. Our coasts are dangerous, and our lifeboats have always been busy. Yet in recent years there has been a remarkable increase in the calls on their services. Since the early 1950s, each year more and more people have flocked to the seaside in their thousands, by the sea, in the sea, and on the sea. Crowded harbours and many small craft offshore show the ever-increasing interest in sailing, changed conditions from even 10 years ago. But the sea doesn't change, and there is always danger for the inexperienced and the unwary. The increasing number of accidents has increased the calls on lifeboats and other rescue services, and by 1960 the pre-war total of about 300 lifeboat calls per year had been trebled. Hundreds of lives were saved by lifeboats and helicopters, often in fine weather. But lifeboats are not intended to be fine weather rescue boats. It became obvious that our lifeboat fleet must be augmented to deal with the increase in small accidents. These were often close inshore or close to crowded beaches, and a new inshore rescue craft was designed, known as the IRB. The IRB is based on speed. Speed on launching, speed through the surf, speed to the casualty, speed in rescue, speed on return. The IRB is a fast, inflatable boat with a crew of 2. Capable of over 20 knots and with high maneuverability, it can carry out a wide variety of services and operate in fairly rough seas. Only 16 feet long and weighing 300 pounds, the design is a simple one of 5 buoyancy compartments. Equipment is sufficient, but kept to a minimum, and the fuel supply for the 40 horsepower engine gives 2 hours at sea at full speed. Inflation is maintained by hand bellows, and on her 2-wheel hand carriage, the IRB can be launched in a few minutes. 1963, the first 8 IRB stations established. Mudiford in Hampshire was one of the first, a busy coast with many holiday makers and many accidents. There are dangerous currents here, and a young woman swimmer is too far out from the shore and in trouble. The Coast Guard across the bay sees the danger and calls in the IRB. The first of the volunteer crew to arrive man the lifeboat. This is always ready for instant service, and within 3 to 4 minutes the IRB answers the call. Past the spit and over the bar, the IRB leaps forward through the waves at full speed. The IRB speed, for the girl swimmer is tiring. She was lucky. The speed of the IRB and its skillful handling saved her from drowning. In their first year, the IRBs answered 40 calls for help, and with numerous volunteers from among the fishermen, yachtsmen, and other seamen to form the crews, it was obvious that a powerful new weapon to assist the larger lifeboats in their endless battle with the sea had been found. And so the following year, the RNLI raised the number of IRB stations to 25, and the new stations were soon in action. A squall in the north, and an IRB speeds to the aid of a motorboat driven aground on an offshore island. She's bumping badly as the IRB closes in and prepares to throw a rope. The 40 horsepower IRB draws her clear against the onshore wind and the tide. But it doesn't need a squall to get a lilo into trouble. An ebb tide, a cross current, or an offshore wind, and it can be swept rapidly out from the shore. And IRBs get many such calls nowadays. But on a rocky part of the coast, an IRB is carrying a doctor. A man is lying injured at the base of a cliff. The sea is too shallow for a lifeboat to get close inshore, and the vertical cliff, without any beach, rules out a helicopter. But the IRB is just the craft for such a situation, and it noses right up the foreshore to within a few yards of the casualty. If necessary, the IRB could transfer the casualty to a lifeboat offshore or to a helicopter. But in this case, he will be taken to the nearest harbour. More IRBs, 48 of them by the third year, more lives saved and services many and varied. A new bridge opens and the old ferry boats disappear. The Broughty Ferry lifeboat and IRB exchange information before escorting the Tay ferries on their last crossings. Dressed overall and crowded with passengers, these last journeys mark the end of an era. Progress must go on, but the records of service of proud ships always remain, and the RNLI is proud to be associated with these ships on this occasion. Yachting, an increasingly popular sport at the present time. And although many yachtsmen are skilled seamen, and some serve in lifeboat and IRB crews, there are many dangers for the unskilled. Capsizes, dismastings, loss of rudders, these are common accidents nowadays, but the growing number of IRBs is greatly increasing the chances of swift and effective help reaching such casualties. Usually, the IRB crew will be able to right the yacht and save it too. Cut off by the tide. On shingle spit, sandy beach, rocky headland, or offshore rocks, and it is often in good weather that the tide creeps insidiously and silently in, and that the careless or adventurous person suddenly finds himself or herself cut off. Safety may be only a short distance away, but the ever-deepening sea bars the way. A quick phone call will soon have a lifeboat, a helicopter, or an IRB on its way, if the person's plight is seen in time. In this type of service, the speed of the IRB is of great value. for the increasing danger to the marooned person is directly related to the speed of the incoming tide. A canoe capsize requires speed also, particularly if the canoeist is inexperienced or a poor swimmer, or the weather deteriorates, or the canoe unseaworthy. And so again, the speed of the IRB is a vital factor. Being low in the water, the IRB is ideal for coming quickly up alongside swimmers, canoeists, or others in the sea, and pulling them quickly aboard. The first 3 years saw 300 lives saved by IRBs. In the homes of the honorary secretaries, the service records of lifeboats and IRBs continue to mount. Even fishing boats sometimes need help, and an IRB on the Northumberland coast launches to go to the aid of a fishing cobble seen by the Coast Guard to be in difficulties a mile offshore. A rope around the propeller cannot be cleared. The engine has stopped and the boat is drifting in a stiff onshore breeze. She will be thrown up on the beach or against the rocks if she can't get a tow. For an IRB to tow a heavier boat is tricky, particularly with a following sea and wind. But this IRB is doing a skillful job, and these fishermen are lucky. Other fishermen may not be so lucky. Too near the edge, rough seas, and rocks slippery with seaweed. An unexpected wave can pluck him from the rock and sweep him into turbulent waters in a split second. Powerful eddies and currents will then soon carry him out to sea. IRBs will then join lifeboats in what may well be a long search, a difficult search, a dangerous search, and often a fruitless search. But the search will continue as long as there is any hope at all of finding the fisherman alive. For men can survive a surprisingly long time in the sea. And for the lifeboatmen manning the IRB, this may mean many cold, wet, and uncomfortable hours. An unskilled rower can be knocked from a dinghy as easily as a fisherman from a rock. But luckily this girl, floundering in the sea, has been quickly spotted and her position noted. Ready as always to start at a moment's notice, this IRB will not need a long search, and within a few minutes it is speeding straight towards the struggling girl. Her struggles have tired her. She's swallowed a lot of sea water and her breathing is spasmodic. So mouth-to-mouth respiration is given with the IRB's emergency insufflator, while the boat races back to the shore. A rower losing his oars is almost as helpless as a rower fallen overboard, and, like the disabled fishing cobble, this man and his dinghy would have been at the mercy of the sea, and the strong ebb tide would have swept him away out to sea, but for the arrival of the IRB. Many sea rescue services, however, including holiday services, involve bigger craft and many people. And in these too, the IRBs can often play an important part. The motorboat, which set out with 20 trippers, is now overdue in worsening weather. So a full-scale search is organized and the IRBs join in. The IRB will search a wide area, communicating with the lifeboats, the shore, and any aircraft by visual means such as flares, but the effectiveness of the IRBs in a combined operation must depend mainly not on modern communications, but on her volunteer crew's initiative and experience. Survivors may be picked up by rescue craft over a wide area, and this IRB locates 2 men and a woman clinging to debris. Only those who have been rescued from the sea can fully understand the feelings of survivors on a wrecked or sinking ship or in the sea when they see a lifeboat or an IRB approaching. And so the RNLI, a leading sea rescue service in the world today, has opened yet another chapter in its long story of distinguished and heroic service. A chapter that will, without a doubt, save many, many lives.